Just a reminder that Pick of the Week suggestions are open. If you have a kids' TV show you want me to review an episode of, send a $50 commission via Venmo or Cash App to HulkyD. That's HULKIED. Thank you so much for your support. Crossovers have always been something that fans have looked forward to, ever since the concept really got started in the days of the golden age of comic books, when the Human Torch went one-on-one with the Submariner in the pages of Marvel Comics, back when the publisher's flagship title literally was called Marvel Comics. Fans' imaginations have been running wild ever since, with many people fantasizing about hero versus hero battles, be it within existing shared franchises like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to multiverses like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel movies that came before it, to even properties owned by other companies. But there are a few team-ups more intriguing than the one that Fox Kids unleashed on February 27th, 1998, when the Power Rangers first met the Ninja Turtles on the 4th episode of Power Rangers in Space, Shell Shocked.
When Astronomer casts an evil spell on the Ninja Turtles
to destroy the Power Rangers.
Can these good guys gone bad be stopped?
What are you doing?
Don't miss the biggest event in Fox Kids history.
Take the mega ship.
When the Turtles battle the Power Rangers. On Power Rangers in Space. All new on Fox Kids Friday at 4. Take the ride.
So, the crossover actually started at the end of the previous episode, Save Our Ship. Astronomer, the primary villain for In Space, realizes that she needs to beat the Rangers at their own game. So she directs new lackey Elgar to target New York City, specifically the New York City sewers. A manhole cover blows off, and all 5 Ninja Turtles are warped to the surface. And yes, I said all 5. There's a 5th turtle, Venus de Milo, for reasons that I'll cover in a bit. This is directly followed up at the beginning of Shell Shocked itself. Astronomer beams down, announces that they work for her now, and uses her staff to enslave them into doing her bidding. Meanwhile, on the Astro Megaship, Andros is introducing the other Rangers to their new way to get from the Megaship to Earth, the Galaxy Gliders, which they quickly use when Astronomer sends a monster to Angel Grove's notorious abandoned warehouse district, which they actually struggle with for a bit, until the Ninja Turtles show up right in the nick of time and destroy the monster. Most of the Rangers are eager to get to know their new Terrapin friends, who quickly ask for a ride home via the Megaship, but Andros, the team's new Red Ranger, is suspicious. Everything seems a little too convenient. Their new pals are a little too interested in the Megaship, and his suspicions are confirmed when he finds the turtles sabotaging the ship's defenses. They quickly take everyone hostage except for Andros, and allow Astronomer to teleport on board the ship to commandeer it. Andros, fortunately, is able to use his martial arts and telekinesis to free the others, allowing everyone to escape through the Megaship's shuttle and to a nearby plot device, setting up the line of the show.
What is that?
Wait a minute. You're asking a turtle who lives in a sewer to explain a cosmic event?
The turtles are snapped out of their spell. Everyone involved beams down to a nearby planet's surface, and we get some really awesome action scenes where the Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers kick some Quantron's shell. The day is saved, everything is right with the world, and the Ninja Turtles get their ride back to New York, but not before they hang 10 on the Rangers' Galaxy Gliders. Executive producers, Haim Saban and Shuki Levy. Some backstory is probably in order here. In 1996, the Ninja Turtles' long-running cartoon finally came to an end after an astonishing 10-season, 193-episode run. Saban quickly acquired the rights to the Ninja Turtles for fall of 1997, but instead of another cartoon, this would be the first, and to date only, live-action Ninja Turtles series, picking up some elements from an unmade fourth live-action movie, namely that title, Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, and what ultimately became the show's most lasting contribution to the mythos, the fifth turtle, Venus. She is adept at the ways of the shinobi. In other words, she can perform magic, which she and the other turtles demonstrate in this episode. Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, at least early on, did well for Fox Kids. For the first 3.5 weeks of the 1997-98 season, it was pulling a 3.9 rating and a 22 share, outrating Power Rangers Turbo, which was getting a 3.0 rating and a 20 share. Now, this is a bit of an apples to oranges comparison. Turbo was airing 5 days a week, but the Ninja Turtles were only airing on Fridays. But it's evidence that Saban wasn't using the Power Rangers to give the Ninja Turtles a boost. It was the other way around. Something that lines up with the long-standing popular belief that In Space was intended to be the last season, which may or may not have been true. But we'll get to that in another video. Wink, wink. So a crossover was set into motion. There was just one teeny tiny problem here. Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation was filmed in Vancouver using Canadian talent, many of whom appeared in Canadian cartoons and anime. For example, Raphael was voiced by Matt Hill. You might remember him as Ed in Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Save a web crawler. The point is, this joint is rigged with more security than, Fort Knox.
Yeah, you're right.
You bet your sweet Bippy I did.
Unfortunately, at that time, Power Rangers filmed in and around LA. That meant that nobody who actually worked on Next Mutation, either in front of or behind the camera, was involved with this crossover. The Ninja Turtles themselves were recast with LA-based voice actors. All they literally did was ship the suits down.
Well, at least you got that right. It's time for some shell shock.
Everything was handled by the usual Power Rangers team. The episode was written by Judd Chip Lynn. Lynn was with Power Rangers from the start, but he had started his career as writer for the cheesy schlock movie Shoot Fighter, and as a production manager for American Ninja 5. Yeah, rule of thumb, Saban Entertainment was just Canon Films if they did kids shows and actually had a major hit. At Saban, Lynn was initially production manager for Mighty Morphin before he moved to the writing staff with the second season script Welcome to Venus Island. He was promoted to story editor midway through Turbo, then added a co-producer title for In Space. Lynn, alongside Jackie Marchand, would be the show's principal writers all the way up through Time Force. Lynn wrote or co-wrote all but 5 episodes of Power Rangers in Space, and he'd returned to the franchise twice more. First, midway through RPM in 2009, then for a much longer stint as executive producer for Dino Charge, Ninja Steel, and Beast Morphers. The episode was directed by Blair Treyu, who would direct 14 episodes total spanning Turbo, In Space, and Lost Galaxy. Treyu's expertise skews much less towards tokusatsu and much more towards kid-focused TV movies, like the Disney Channel original movie Phantom of the Megaplex, which he directed. Surprisingly, there's a lot more overlap between kid-focused TV movies and American tokusatsu than you'd expect. Nowadays, he tends to stick to, films made for the Mormon Church. I'd also be remiss if I didn't note the work of the legendary Koichi Sakamoto. Sakamoto had been with the franchise for a bit, but he became the series' action director starting with the second half of Power Rangers Turbo. For obvious reasons, almost no Sentai footage is used in this episode, so Koichi's fight choreography carries it, especially in the finale. It is a joy to watch, and it really illustrates how rightly celebrated his work is. Sakamoto would be one of the few Saban-era staffers to make the transition to Disney, directing through Ninja Storm and serving as an executive producer through RPM. After RPM, he returned to his native Japan, where he is currently thriving as a tokusatsu director. He's worked on all the big three hero shows: Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and yes, Super Sentai. So, how was this episode? Well, let's get it out of the way first. I don't think it really works all that well as a Ninja Turtles crossover. This is a Power Rangers story first and foremost, and actually a pretty good one. In particular, this episode explores the idea that Andros and the rest of the Rangers still have a bit of work to do to gel as a team. The Rangers are very easily trusting, but Andros, given the tragic backstory that they'll go into starting with the very next episode, is very hesitant, very reluctant. The Ninja Turtles are unfortunately barely explored as characters. They just show up, are turned evil, they antagonize the Rangers, get turned good again, and we have a good old-fashioned team-up. They're a plot element, simply there to create adversity for the Rangers. And if you plugged in random monster suits, the episode probably wouldn't have been any different. And yet, even if they're not written very well, even if they're just here as a plot element, it's still a team up with the goddamn Ninja Turtles. It's cool. Just because of that, I had a dopey smile on my face throughout large parts of the entire episode, especially during the climactic fight. It's hard to overstate how momentous this team-up feels in retrospect. While both franchises were past their peak by this point, this is still the biggest kids' TV phenomenon of the late 80s, teaming up with the one that arguably supplanted it in the early 90s. This doesn't happen often. The closest thing I can hypothetically compare it to is if it were 1941 and Popeye and Mickey Mouse appeared in a cartoon together. It really is that seismic. What I think this needed was more time. Making an actual two-parter, have the Turtles' betrayal be the part 1 cliffhanger, and use that additional time to try and explore the idea. I can see why they didn't do that. Power Rangers in Space, at least initially, didn't have a very high budget. And again, there's no Ninja Turtle footage from the Sentai available to use. And frankly, you can see the budget shortcuts all around this episode. Tinted footage to simulate alien worlds, questionable green screen ship footage, a Galaxy Glider scene where they have 5 Ninja Turtle suits and 1 Galaxy Glider prop, so they had to kind of fudge it. So while the extra time would have helped, and these budgetary issues aren't something a kid would pick up right away, I can see why this was crammed into one episode. It may surprise you to learn that opinions on this episode are at best mixed. As I was writing the script, I did some informal polling on Twitter, it is still Twitter, about this episode. And I've gotten opinions from the best thing they did with the next mutation incarnation of the Turtles, to really fun but flawed, to
we do not speak of this abomination.
But that's nothing compared to the reactions when the team-up actually aired. Hoo boy! A scan of the alt-fan Power Rangers news group reveals that the general consensus was overwhelmingly negative, particularly when the Ninja Turtles showed up at the end of the previous episode. In fairness, the negative reaction is kind of understandable. I've been dancing around it this whole time, but while Power Rangers in Space is seen, rightly, as one of the peaks of the Power Rangers franchise, Next Mutation is, just as rightly, seen as the nadir of the Ninja Turtles. While Saban Entertainment was a master at producing tokusatsu-style shows, it was always a very cheap company. You can see it in the next mutation suits, which are barely articulated and frankly kind of ugly. Compare that to the 1990 live-action movie's still incredible Jim Henson designed animatronics. Now these are effects that kids could pick up on. There were a number of other factors making Next Mutation divisive. Venus was unfortunately one of them, both from the quarters you'd expect it from, but also earning active disdain from Ninja Turtles co-creator Peter Laird. And probably no surprise that she hasn't shown up in a TV project since then. But I think the big reason is that the Ninja Turtles franchise was running on fumes at this point. The property had really been in the public eye since the 1987 cartoon debuted, and it was slowly losing steam for several years. The 3 theatrical movies were a classic case of diminishing returns. The cartoon had run out of steam and had devolved into a weird ripoff of Batman the Animated Series. And the comics had gone so off the rails that Raphael became the Shredder. Ninja Turtles needed a rest. It didn't need a new, cheap, live-action show. Next Mutation would be gone by the fall. I can't find a reason behind the cancellation. One particular poster on alt-fan Power Rangers seemed really confident that the show was doing well in the ratings, but was canceled to make room for the considerably more expensive Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. I'm not sure that poster actually knew anything, or if they were just pulling information out of their ass. I wonder who that was, anyway. Right, okay. Let's forget that, move on, please. Power Rangers kept on trucking after In Space. Disney bought the franchise in 2001 as part of its purchase of then-owner Fox Family Worldwide, and kept it going on its networks until 2009. Afterwards, Haim Saban swept in to buy it, making an immediate deal to move the show to Nickelodeon starting in 2011. Ninja Turtles, meanwhile, got that well-deserved rest, and after a 5-year hiatus, it resurfaced in 2003 on the Fox Box, the 4Kids-owned successor to Fox Kids. This new cartoon was meant to be closer to the original comics, and it was very successful, running for 7 seasons and 155 episodes. Not all that far behind the 1987 cartoon. In 2009, the Ninja Turtles were purchased by Nickelodeon, which began airing a new CG animated cartoon in 2012, making the Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles network buddies once more. But the broadcasting partnership wasn't the only thing they shared. In the 2010s, both properties got very well received comic book runs. The Turtles in 2011 with IDW, and the Rangers in 2014 with Boom Studios. These comics explored and extended their franchises in surprising ways. And in 2019 and 2020, these modern comic versions of the franchises teamed up in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, created by 2 talents on the Power Rangers side of things, Ryan Perot and Simone DeMeo. There's differences, of course. Most notably, it's the OG Mighty Morphin lineup, and it's the original 4 Turtles, no Venus. But it's still close to the team-up we should have gotten in 1998. It's a story about both the Power Rangers and the Ninja Turtles. It features really cool ideas, like Tommy Oliver joining the Foot Clan, and Ninja Turtles who can morph. It includes key Ninja Turtles supporting cast like Shredder and April. It sold well enough to merit a sequel, MMPR TMNT 2, again written by Ryan Perot but illustrated this time by Dan Mora. This one goes even more crazy. Want to see ooze-powered mutant rangers? Of course you do. Hasbro, which took over ownership of Power Rangers in 2018, even released Turtle Ranger toys based on these comics. It's really fascinating to take stock of both franchises now in the year 2024. The Ninja Turtles are still going strong, with Nickelodeon still continuing to back new projects, the most recent of which was the 2023 movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It grossed $181 million and received widespread critical acclaim. A TV show based on the movie is headed to Paramount Plus later this year, and a sequel is in development. The Heroes in a Half Shell have clearly progressed beyond a simple fad to become a generation-spanning franchise beloved by millions. You probably have a favorite Ninja Turtles cartoon, be it 1987, 2003, 2012, or my favorite, the criminally underrated 2018 Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Power Rangers are faring less well in comparison. The show still draws pretty good viewership amongst kids, but by all accounts, it looks like the Rangers have entered the same hibernation that the Ninja Turtles went into after Next Mutation. What's next for the Rangers is anyone's guess. My suspicion is that at some point, the Rangers and the Turtles are going to cross paths again. Likely in the comics. It's a primal pairing that clearly matters to a lot of people. There's a reason they did 3 team-ups. Even if this first attempt wasn't exactly a classic.